So I'm just trying to bring together a couple of the ideas we've covered so far with rhythm, with the nursery rhymes and stuff that we've done. So the way that a rhythm feels, and really what the 12 and 16 thing is about feel. Okay? So how something sounds on the surface is one thing, and how it feels to you is a totally different thing. How it feels to you as a listener and how it feels to you as a performer. So the way that it feels depends on the combination of the timing of the individual things that are happening. So we call those attacks or events or notes or whatever it is, the things that are happening in the musical time, which I'll call the surface rhythm. So if I just go... Unless I'm doing some movement or you know where my beat is, it could come across as just a bunch of random claps. Now, as I was doing it, I could feel it, but you might not feel it. Maybe some of you may have actually caught some of that, but you may not have. Yeah, so.
I don't know if you're asking me to repeat that right now. I don't think I'd get it exactly.
I don't think most people would get that exactly. It was pretty random,
Yeah.
but it was sticking to a pretty solid grid, though. I was not moving off of it. It was all on a specific rate of musical events happening. Okay? So at least that was there. So we have that surface rhythm, though, which you may or may not feel, depending on your experience with it, and then you have the sensation of musical flow underneath it. So are we grouping those into... or... groups of threes, groups of fours, groups of twos, other groupings, or whatever. So that's called the meter. Okay? So we measure the surface rhythm by the shortest rhythmic unit, which we've been calling the subdivision or the pulse. And this can be shown as a series of pulses that are just going on, and then things happening on that pulse. So for example, the beginning of Row, Row, Row Your Boat, as you can see on your sheet there, you could have these little dots here, 12 of them. And your rows are happening on 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Or if we just call them, I'm actually biasing it by saying 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, because it could just be a bunch of things in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's a thing on 1, there's a thing on 4, there's a thing on 7, 9, and 10. Right? And it happens that way, ladies. Please. Thank you. Okay, so your row, 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 row. Who did that for their assignment, by the way? I think I may have done it for the video. In fact, did I do it for the video? Bum, 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 bum. Yes, I did. So if you didn't do it, good job. Thank you for not doing that. Okay, so row, row, row your boat. The way you establish how fast those pulses are going is by the fastest thing that happens in your surface rhythm, which is what?
The consonant?
Which one?
Oh, you mean
Which is the fastest word? What's
your boat?
in the surface rhythm? Yeah, your boat. Yeah, it's the your boat that tells you how fast those pulses are going underneath. Okay, so the your boat tells you how fast all of these ones are going. Your boat, your boat, your boat, up, 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 up. And once you've got that going, you can just hang all of your words on it. Row, 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 your boat. Row, 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 your boat. And nothing falls in between them. Okay? It's evenly divided, and we call that sometimes a musical grid. Okay? But really, it's a flow. Those claps, those subdivisions, they don't stop, they don't start, they just, once they get going, it's like a ticker tape or something. It just keeps going, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and we're attaching notes and things and events to that. Okay, which is kind of why we call it a musical flow. It's like it's a river and it's just going down, and you can jump on it and have, it's going to keep going whether you're in it or not. Okay? So the shortest rhythmic unit is where the your happens, and so that sets the speed of the pulses. And now because we know this tune, or at least most of us do, if you don't, that's okay. But because it's sort of familiar, and also because those row, 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 those are strong things that kind of establish this is boom, boom, boom. That's where your beat is going to be. We tend to feel it as sets of threes like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Okay, so that row, 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 we call that entrainment. Your brain will tend to start following along with that. Row, row, row. I got it. That's the beat. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit. All right. And so for notation of this, we can either call it 6/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 12/8 with no bar line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And so to notate it, and a lot of you have done this already, some of you didn't do it, so I'm just going to make sure we all have this. We have, all you do is take your events and put them down here as note hits. And if we're looking here in 6/8, okay, this is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, or beat 1, beat 2, beat 1, beat 2 of the next bar. All right, and we've said skeletal. Yes, Jamal. Yeah, I wish it was, but it's not. They put it over there. They were supposed to be a second one here, but they gave it somewhere else. Yes.
So the beat hits, you're placing them where it says like row.
Yep. Row your boat. Just like that.
That's where you're starting off like a row.
Yep. Okay. Now, not all rhythms are going to start at the beginning of the bar, but here they do. So, if we're going to call each of these dots now an 8th note, that's the value. So then if we have 1, 2, 3 of these, what is our rhythmic value? A dotted quarter note. Okay. Over here, another dotted quarter note. These two here, 2 8th notes is 1 quarter, 1 8th note here, and then another dotted quarter note, which you'll probably see right over there on that board as well. True? Yes. Okay. And we have a bar line here. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8th notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8th notes in this bar. It works for 6/8. Now, I have a problem with the way the way you probably learn time signatures and meter is that the top number is how many gets one beat, like 4/4. Well, there's 4 beats, and the bottom number is what kind of note gets that beat. The 4 means it's a quarter note. So for 4/4, 4 beats that are quarter notes. And that makes sense for 4/4 and for 3/4. But when we get into these compound meters, the 6/8 doesn't really say. It is true, there are 6 8th notes, but really the beat, we wouldn't put a metronome on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be too fast, and it would be just too much in the face or in the ear, right? So really what you're doing is grouping those. It's really 2 beats, 2 sets of 3. So 1, 2 is where you put your metronome, 1, 2, 1, 2. So really this is 2 times 3 subdivisions. All right, so whenever you see, and that's why whenever we see these 12 8s and 6 8s, anything a multiple of 3, that we're then talking about groupings of 3s. How many groupings of 3 are there? 4 or 2, 9, 8, 3. Okay, to do this one again in 12/8 then, all you're doing now, how would I do that? Okay. Yeah, it would be exactly this, but without the bar line in the middle. So it would just flow right through. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's exactly the same, just without the bar line. And now while you're jotting this down, I just want to talk for a minute about triplets. So the way that these are notated here, the person, in this case myself, who's decided to do the writing, I've decided that I want to group them in sets of 3s. And so I put it into 6/8 or 12/8, and that means that every beat is actually 3 things. Now, what if I wanted to have it divided evenly into 2 at one point? What if I'm going along 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3? I wanted to have just a single beat. I'm establishing I want this flow of 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, but I want one single 1, 2, done evenly spaced. What would I do then? say this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So in 12/8. Okay? So if I've decided that I'm going to be doing it in sets of 3s, but I got this one guy here that just wants to be, yes. Put another one in. Tell him, no, man, you don't want to be by yourself. No. It's going to be 2 evenly spaced, as though it was 4/4, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3 and 4. Yes. Almost. It's the same idea, but in reverse. It's 2. Duplet. Okay? We call it a duplet. We put a little 2 over it and say, switch gears. Are you guys ready to? Please. Oh, sure. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so exactly the opposite. So if we set it in 12, if we set it in sets of 3 and we have a group of 2, we put a duplet over it. And then the reverse is true. Hang on one sec. If we have it in 4/4, this is the normal one, and these ones are all different. So we'd have to put 3s over all of them. And those are called triplets. That's right, yeah. So a simple meter, if you want a group of 3, you have to specify that by making a triplet. If you have compound meters, so sets of 3, and you want to jump out of that for a minute, then you have to make a duplet. So we left off talking about the difference between triplets and duplets. And somebody summarized correctly that if you are in simple time, where you would have otherwise 8ths and 16ths, and you suddenly want to go into a beat or more of evenly spaced triplets, or evenly spaced notes in 3s, then you would use a triplet sign to indicate that you're going out of the 2s and 4s and moving into the 3s here. So this would sound like dun dun dugga dugga da 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 dum. And in compound, if you're in, say, 12/8, and you're doing something like da 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 da, and then you want 2 evenly spaced 8th notes. So we have 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 beats, 4 beats. Oops, this would need to be a dotted quarter. So da 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 da. We need to put a duplet. So triplet. Duplet, meaning 2. And these can work in any case. Anytime you want to fit 2 of something where 3 should go, or 3 where 2 should go. It's also used more generally, especially in romantic music, where Chopin is doing something in 4/4, and he might go and want to fit 5 notes in here, kind of expressively, bum 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 dugga da dugga da dum, dugga da dugga da dum, dugga da 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 dum. So put a 5 over there, and it's sort of a cheat way of fitting all those notes into that one beat. Okay, that would be called a pentuplet. But more often you see it, in that case, it's usually a little bit flexible, the timing of it, whereas if you have something like again in 12/8, so beat 1, beat 2, ba, bum, ba, and then you want to fit a regular set of 4 16th notes. Bum, bum, ba da 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 ba. You'd have to put a 4 over here. In the same way you'd have to put a 2. Because the expectation when you're in this setup is that it's going to be each beat is going to be divided into 1, 2, 3. So if you see an 8th note, it's going to be going with 3, or if you're seeing 16th notes, they're going to come together in 6s. So in the space of where these 6 should go, these 4 are now going to go. So for triplet cymbals, in the same way that if you have 1, 2, 3, and you need to put a triplet cymbal over it, if you have 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, you could also put a triplet over that as well. Okay. Triplets can appear like this, or with a line right over the 3. Sometimes it's just the number 3. So in this case then, I put in the notes, so we'll just use this one bottom here. So wherever we have a note, we're going to put a note head, and for the triplets, now each beat is a quarter note. Sorry, we're now in 4/4, so each beat can be a quarter note, 1, 2. This one here is a quarter note instead of a dotted quarter note, because a dotted quarter note you'd expect to have another 8th note after it. 1, 2, 3, 4. But now that we're in 4/4, this full beat here, 1, 2, 3, is now a beat of 4. This full beat here is another full beat, and the last beat here is also a full beat. So we only have this one here, bum, ba, and so that's being divided into 3, a triplet, but 2 of them are being held together, and then the 1 by itself. So over top of this, you would put a triplet. So to be clear, row, 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 your vote. And in fact, a lot of music that is swung uses this rhythm as well. Dun da dun da dun da dun da. Instead of dun da dun da dun da. Instead of 2 even 8th notes, you would write dun da dun da dun da dun. So jazz, a lot of early jazz, especially anything swung. Blues as well. A lot of those types of music that use that rhythm that is kind of a shuffle, where the first 8th note, where the first note of the beat is longer than the second one. What you would do is, rather than write it in 12/8, most you won't see jazz music generally written in 12/8, even though it feels that way. It's written in 4/4, but at the beginning of it, it would say something like 2 8th notes is played as this. And so if you see this, bum, 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 you would play it as bum, 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 ba, bum. So you play it as row, row, row your boat, as though it's in 12/8, when in fact it's written in 4/4. And this is usually written with a swing or swing 8th notes. And then if you want to change back to regular 8th notes, you would say straight 8th notes. Now, moving on to this one here. Now this is a bit trickier, but the idea here is that we had 12 pulses in our surface rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if we didn't know the song Row, Row, Row Your Boat, or if we were hearing it for the first time, or if we just want to play around with it a bit, you could regroup the how you count those 12. So 12, we saw above, divides into 4s, 3 sets of 4s, but it also divides into 6 sets of 2. Which would, if we call these still eighth notes, gives us a 3-4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 2 bars of 3, 4. So we'll call this eighth note 3, 4. And so we have now, let's figure it out here. We've got, I'm going to put it in with rests for now. Okay. So if we count this out, 1, 2, and oops. 1, 2, and 1, bump, bunch. You can still say row, row your boat, but the accents are different. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. This is this 3-4 feel. And if you start thinking about it as row, row, row your boat, you can easily get sort of sucked back into feeling like it's just row, row, row your boat. But if you ignore that and just accept this as a new rhythm, then you've generated sort of a different kind of feeling with a very simple pattern, or what seemed like a simple surface rhythm, into this new thing. And earlier what we did, we played around with this next one here. So here we have, we'll call this our 16th note 3-4 pattern, because now what we're doing is within this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pattern, we're counting them in groups of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. And those 4, if we call these quarter notes, those must be, what rhythmic value must they be?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So,
But if 4 of them have to fit into a beat, what do they have to be?
and how do we turn them marked?
3. But how do we fit 4 notes into a bar, or into a beat? What kind of notes do we normally use? Into just a regular beat. What rhythmic value fits 4 to a beat? 16th notes, good. So we're going to use 16th notes to do this. So each of these dots now is going to be a 16th note value. So let's put in our notes. I didn't turn that other one into a space filling. I'll do that after. But here we go. So we now have in this first beat, bum, ba. All right, so if we filled that in with rests, it would just be rest, rest. But we'll make that into a rhythm, space filling rhythm. So that is 3 16th notes, which is a dotted 16th note, a dotted 8th note rather, and then 1 16th. Here we have, this would be 1 8th note here, and then another 8th note here. So what I'm going to do for space filling is make this into 2 8th notes, but tie this over so we don't play that one. So this is silent. So we've got bum, ba, ba, da, da, da. And then here we have 16th notes here. So this is 1 16th note, and this is 3. So it's the reverse of this. To make the reverse, we put the dotted 8th note here. We put the 16th note right there with that little flag. So we have 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. Okay, so it's a new 3-4 pattern made out of 16th notes. And this is the pattern actually that we played in class at the beginning when Evan was drumming. And so we get 1, 2, 3. What we did also was we added a 4th beat, just as a space filler, just for kicks. So I converted this into 4/4 and just put an extra beat at the end just to fill in that space to see what it would sound like. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 so again, we've made a much more complex kind of beat out of what was a pretty simple thing, just row, row, row your boat. It becomes much trickier when you group them this way, but it's quite interesting. It's more challenging. So there we go. Another way you could sort of convert this into a 4 pattern would be to put the beat at the beginning as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat. And there you go. You've generated, with a simple rhythmic idea, something more complex by regrouping into 4s and 2s instead of 3s. Just to come back to the other one for a second, if we were filling up the space with the 3, 4, and 8th notes, it would be, so we have a bar line here, and we could use a dotted quarter note. That 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and either a rest or tied. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So this is the first 3, 4 in 8th notes, and this is the second 3, 4 in 16th notes. Oops. So the homework really is, this is actually, you can do this along with me, and then the homework is to build your own pattern. And you don't have to do this homework tonight, but once you've had a chance to take a look at it, so use this 12 pulse pattern as a sort of a blank slate, and then pick 4 to 10 of the dots and circle them. Pick 4 numbers here.
3, 7, 8, 9.
3, 7, 8, 9. Okay, good. So if we did it as sets of 3, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Ba. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Sorry. Ba. Ba, ba, ba. 1, 2, 3, and 1. Not bad. Okay. Let's add an 11. See what that comes out as. 1 and a 2, 3, 4. 1. Ba, 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 ba. So you're just generating a surface rhythm by picking some attacks, picking some places to put an event. So between 4 and 10 of them. I picked 4 to 10 because that way you at least got some space in it. And then, once you've established what your surface rhythm is, then group them and make them into let's do space filling, so I'll just put a dotted quarter here. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah. Ba, 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 ba. That would be 6, 8, 12, 8. Also, if you really want to space fill it up, this should have been a dotted quarter. Sorry. Then you can put a dotted quarter here and tie it back to this last note here. So the first time you can play bum, bum. Oops. No, that's a quarter. Sorry. There's a quarter. Bum ba bum bum ba 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 ba. Don't play this one the next time you come around to it. Same thing for 12/8, 4/4 using triplets, 3/4 as an 8th note values, and 16th note values. Same idea. And that's the homework. All the ones with the asterisks, if you're in grade 10, you don't have to do, but I'd like you to try the other ones. Okay, any questions? Is that all right? All right, great. And what you missed in the video is that I was talking with Urim here actually about how Clair de Lune by Debussy. I'm just going to write this up here, so if you want to check it out. Clair de Lune by Debussy is in 9/8. So basically it's this. And it's a pretty famous piece by him. And he's the same guy who wrote Syrinx, the flute piece we saw. But what Debussy does in this is deliberately, that's not there, he's got these groups of threes, but he does a lot of things like this. He'll have he'll sort of come in the middle of the beat and have it hold over, and then other times he'll switch into twos, so duplets, and tie them over. So it's just like the second one and the first one of the next beat. So it really confuses the listener as to where the timing is and where the beat is. If you just listen to it without knowing this, you probably wouldn't really be able to count through it at all, actually. And most pianists also kind of push the timing even further because it's supposed to be kind of romantic, even though it's early modern, and it's sort of supposed to be in the same way that the whole tone scale sounds kind of dreamy. This kind of rhythm with a mixture of threes and twos with lots of ties is pretty dreamy stuff. So check that out if you can.